Hello again to all friends and enemies. I have some sections from Gurdjieff today and a story about an eerie journey I took through the English countryside. And Gurdjieff said that the crocodile is very useful because you can send it ahead to eat your enemies. But who is it that you would send ahead to eat the crocodile? To eat the crocodile, you would send Yuji. Evola. The very idea of tradition is the firm protest against the insolent omnipresence of economic and social tyranny, against the collapse of all higher points of reference into what is most basely human. Philosophy, art, politics, science, even religion were here stripped of any right and possibility to exist merely in themselves, and to be of any relevance outside of a higher framework. Our paradigm, on all levels, is for a light to shine forth in all fields, a light that might once more reflect the meaning of existence, of life and death, and which might raise all values, both natural and supernatural, to a new level of heroic synthesis and freedom. The fact was that the magical path had always been exclusively open to the few. On the other hand, neo-spiritualism has frequently sought to popularize esoteric doctrines and to turn them into a surrogate religion, or rather a mere commodity, given the spiritualist rejection of dogmas and all positive ties. In such a way, I sarcastically argued, one could witness old maids, weaklings, pensioners, humanitarians and vegetarians all wholeheartedly embracing the doctrines of initiation and of the Übermensch, not to mention the Americanization of yoga and occult methods, promoted simply as a means to develop willpower or to gain health or to become successful and so on. Here in England, many members of the royal family seem to be on their way out. And His Highness Prince William, who is the heir, said recently that I can only describe what I'm trying to do. I'm doing it with maybe a smaller R in the royal, if you like. That's maybe a better way of saying it. It's more about impact, philanthropy, collaboration, convening, and helping people. Well, turning yourself into an NGO isn't really the point. There are already hundreds of thousands of NGOs doing that. The point of a royal is to bring the light into society, to be close to God, to be the highest, the bravest, the strongest, and not by cleaning the toilet. That's what the royal family is meant to be doing, and that's what it used to do. And so I suggest that you go back to the old ways. I took one of my jaunts this weekend into the Sussex countryside just south of London, and I saw three things in a row. I was given a ticket to the National Trust Standon House, a great country manor, and alongside it I noticed the Scientology headquarters and also a very strange Benedictine Abbey at Worth. But I'll start at Standon House, which left me with a very strange impression because it's a very beautiful house and gardens, but the fact is nothing had ever happened there. It had never really been a family home. No farming had ever been done there. Nobody had shed blood. Nobody had fought, nobody had earned, and nobody had worked there, and it had this empty feeling. In fact, the left-wing hippies who work in the National Trust today, they had dressed it up for Christmas with Christmas trees and presents everywhere. They were trying to imagine, I guess, how rich people live. Rich people, if they're worth anything, it's because they work. The first thing I saw when I got out of the car at Standon was a British couple. They walked up to a tree, and it's autumn now, and in synchronized fashion they slid their phone out of their back pocket and took one photo each of the tree that was only a meter in front of them. And then they slid those phones back into their backside pocket like some kind of strange sexual act. I mean, don't you have eyes to see? Do you prefer your phone to the tree? When I was young, I was big into photography, but I stopped when I was about 25 because I didn't want to die. In fact, idolatry, the idolatry that is discussed in the Bible, what does it really mean? It means that you put something between you and life. Everything today in the world is something between you and life. As Gurdjieff will tell us later on, when human beings go, they will take everything that they have made with them because it's all idolatry. It is an interference with life. It is an intermediary that only represents their fractured, broken state because they cannot see the tree in front of them. Okay, so we drove past the Scientology headquarters. We didn't stop. The thing I know about Scientology is that although they have discovered a few small details, the fact is that they aren't real people. They aren't a tree that is growing out of the earth. They're just a collection of American migrants hanging out on the West Coast. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what they discover. They're not real people. The only thing that survives, the only thing that lives, is that which grows from the earth upwards. That is why you can have any idea you like. You can change your philosophy and your religion every day. But when your body gets sick, then you're going to run like a coward to the doctor, because the body is the only thing that is real. The body is the repository of actualized knowledge. That is why when you hear today people say all the time that race does not exist, which completely contradicts everything that your ancestors would have said for centuries, if not thousands of years. Of course it exists, and moreover, it is the only thing that is real. Your thoughts don't mean a damn thing because most of them don't lead to anything anyway. But the body knows better than you. As I walked through Standon, I did do some separation exercises, and I'll tell you what I saw. The first thing is that the real functions of the mental center don't involve thinking. It's more like will. You have a will or an attraction to something coming from the mental center, and the body follows via the spirit. To think is really a kind of broken type of mental function. In the same way, when people talk about feeling, they're talking about something quite mechanical. In fact, a real being is more like Mercury. He flows and he shines, and it is understood and received, all without talking, all without these intermediary mechanical manifestations. You should be able to communicate with other people directly, meaning energetically, and they should understand you. When they receive the energy, it is digested and comprehended. These skills, of course, are rare today. But in fact, they still exist just under the surface, and when you're with people that you know that things are happening, maybe you see them from time to time. Now, in terms of the work with emotions that people talk about in the Gurdjieff teaching, it is all a bit irrelevant since people have so little emotional ability anyway. The first thing you need to do before you play an instrument or do something useful with an instrument is you have to learn the different notes, and that requires specialist work. And without that, you're just left with positive emotions or negative emotions, but in fact emotions can become a vast world, but one has to diligently and deliberately exercise them, and have faith that growing your emotions leads somewhere, because your future is not based on your American net worth. Then we did stop just next door at the Benedictine Worth Abbey, which opened in 1975, and the poor Benedictines have to pray in this horrific building. In 1975, the film Logan's Run came out. It was another future fantasy dystopia, just like this building. After World War II, huge damage had been done to the living organism of Britain, and this is what results. You have these strange growths. You have people who fantasize about a future because they are not connected to the past. Looking inside this building, people don't even know where to stand because there is no structure anymore. And if you look at the cross, the proportions are wrong. Because the cross is a metaphysical symbol of proportion, representing the great cosmic laws of all of existence. Going back to our visit to Standen House, it is famous because William Morris, the most famous historical English designer, dressed this house. And he is a genuinely interesting character because later in his life he said that you should not have anything in your house that was not practical or beautiful. Practical means of the physical world. Beautiful means practical for emotions. And if you added a third one, metaphysical, that would represent the intellectual world. And then you would have a trinity. And Morris himself started translating ancient European literature. He was one of those who was looking to make the ancient rivers flow again. This is something from him. O hearken ye who speak the English tongue, how in a wasteland ages long ago the very heart of the north bloomed into song, after long brooding over this tale of woe. Hearken and marvel how it might be so, that such a sweetness so well crowned could be between the ice hills and the cold grey sea. Or rather marvel not that those should cling unto the thoughts of great lives passed away, whom God has stripped so bare of everything, save the one longing to wear through this day, in fearless wise the hope the gods to stay, when at last tide gathered wrong and hate shall meet blind yearning on the fields of fate. Yea, in the first grey dawning of our race, this wrath-crowned tangle to sad hearts was dear. Then rose a seeming sun, the lift gave place unto a seeming heaven far off but clear. But that passed too, and afternoon is here, nor was the morn so fruitful or so long, but we may hearken when ghosts moan of wrong. So draw ye round and hearken, English folk, unto the best tale pity ever wrought, of how from dark to dark bright Sigurd broke, of Brunhild's glorious soul with love distraught, of Gudrun's weary wandering unto naught, of utter love defeated utterly, of grief too strong to give love time to die. Let's take a closer look now at some of Gurdjieff's knowledge. Here he talks about roles and postures. When you are still young, the first movements of the body are recorded. Records of the movements of the body are purely subjective. This recording is like that of a phonograph disc. At first, up to 3 months, it is very sensitive. Then after 4 months it becomes less sensitive. After a year, still weaker. At first even the sound of breathing can be heard. A week later one can hear nothing below a low-voiced conversation. It is the same with the human brain. At first it is very receptive, and every new movement is recorded. As a final result, one man may have many postures, another only a few. For instance, one man may have acquired 55 postures, while the possibility of recording them lasted, while another man, living in the same conditions, may have obtained 250. These levers, these postures, are formed in each center according to the same laws, and remain there for the rest of a man's life. The difference among these postures is only in the way they are recorded. Take, for instance, postures of the moving center. Up to a certain time, postures become formed in every man. Then they stop being formed, but those that are formed remain till his death. Their number is limited, so whatever a man may be doing, he will use these same postures. Postures may be limited, so whatever a man may be doing, he will use these same postures. If he wishes to play one or another role, he will use a combination of postures he already has, for he will never have any others. In ordinary life, there can be no new postures. Even if a man wishes to be an actor, his position will be the same in this respect. The difference between sleep and waking of the body is that when a shock comes from outside in sleep, it does not excite, does not produce associations in the corresponding brain. Let us say a man happens to be tired. The first shock is given. Some lever begins to move mechanically. Equally mechanically, it touches another lever and makes it move. That lever touches a third, the third a fourth, and so on. This is what we call associations of the body. The other machines also have postures, and they are brought into motion in the same way. You know, as I'm thinking about this, I've got my left arm across my chest, and I'm holding my face in a certain way, just like somebody I knew when I was young. You know, the picture I have now is like this. It's like I'm stuck in a hidden valley, and I need to slowly weave my way out through a very small and narrow ravine. And if I move carefully, and I move deliberately, I will exit that valley and into the open space outside. That is what I'm thinking, that picture. Where does it come from? It comes from the crocodile, because it is only the beast that can reach God. We've arrived at the eating of the crocodiles.
You see nothing there. You don't even see this. This will finish you. You see nothing. You are empty words. You are repeating memorized empty phrases and words. That's all that you are doing. Whatever is put in like a tape recorder, you are repeating everything that is there. Put in there. That's all. You see that. How can you see? You have never seen anything in your life, I tell you. Never. Probably as a baby. I don't even know that. You have never seen anything in your life. It's not in your interest to see. That knowledge will come to an end. If, as you say, I see. Extraordinary intelligence, innate intelligence that body is born with is unparalleled, incomparable. I'm telling you.
Anything that
you and I have invented and acquired all through our lives for centuries. No match to that. You think you are more intelligent, you think you know what the body should want, should need and should be taken care of. All that is absolute rubbish. Whatever you think is good for the body is the cause of your misery. It is rejecting everything. That is why there is a suffering there. It doesn't want to accept anything, whether it is from the doctor or from the psychologist or the physiologist or the scientist, much less from the spiritual man. All that the body is rejecting all the time. It is not interested in anything you think is good for this body. For 40 years, 49 was the last time I went to a doctor. This was in 1949. This is 1997. Anytime any doctor wants to do anything for me, I said, do you want to live? Don't give me any. All of them died, finished, all the doctors who wanted to help me.
And the answer to the spiritual path is basically about integrating your power. One of the primary things to do is to integrate anything that is inside of you, and that is painful. If you have what you call a negative emotion, what does that really mean? It means that some material has entered inside of you and you can't get rid of it now. So it keeps coming back when people ring your bell. Anxiety, sadness, anger. There is no place to go. Even if you went with Elon Musk to Mars, you would still carry that with you. You have to integrate it. It's not about observing it or being fucking peaceful. The material has entered you. You must reconcile it and integrate it. It's difficult because it involves a change in your being. It means that your being has to expand so it integrates with the new material. Often this creates an existential crisis, crying, pain, all these things. That is the price. And I'm not talking about drowning in your stupid feelings. I don't mean that at all. But there is power in these things. And if you can take the power into the core of you, then you grow. Because human beings are so encrusted with so much bullshit, then a large part of the path must involve melting it all down. You must learn how to do that, and do it often. Enough for today.